Bonjour! Hi Year 9, welcome to this tutorial on the role play part of your GCSE Speaking exam. The Speaking exam comprises 3 parts: the role play, the photo card and the conversation, and the role play and photo card are given 12 minutes preparation time. So during the preparation time you will see a role play card like this. We suggest that you spend a little bit longer on the photo card than the role play when you're preparing. So approximately 4 minutes on the preparation of your role play and the remaining 8 minutes on the photo card, just because the photo card requires you to develop your answers a little bit more than this one. So the role play then, this is what you see. And to point out the instructions first of all, this instructions to candidates section here at the top will be in English. And it's really important that you read it. They can give you some helpful pieces of information that may well allow you to learn something more about the context of the role play itself. So this bit here, for example, tells us that your teacher will play the part of the receptionist and will speak first. So immediately we know something about the context of this role play. Then it gives you this information that you should address the receptionist, so the examiner, as vous. And obviously that's really important to make sure that we're using vous rather than tu all the way throughout this role play. We then have a reminder of these 2 bullet points here, the exclamation mark, which is the unpredicted part of the role play. You cannot necessarily script an answer to this part of the role play. We'll come on to that in a moment. But there are things you can do to get yourself prepared for that. So then we have the question mark, and this is where you have to ask a question of your examiner. Okay, then looking in a little bit more closely at the task itself, the scene setting sentence here, obviously it's very important that you read that scene setting sentence. So, vous parlez avec le ou la réceptionniste d'un hôtel en France. So we're speaking to a receptionist of a hotel in France. So straight away we can be sort of imagining the type of scenario that will run out here, the type of things that you're likely to say and that he or she is likely to say in response. Okay, so we're going to run through then the bullet points and I'm going to show you how you should prepare. So bullet point number 1, chambre combien de personnes? So the first thing to point out is that you script your answer. You take your notes in with you into the exam. So everything that you've written during the 12 minutes preparation time goes in with you into the exam. So in preparing for this first bullet point, chambre means bedroom, combien de personnes, how many people, and we're speaking to a receptionist in a hotel, so we want to book that room. So we can start off with this very useful phrase, je voudrais. I would like. Now this is a really adaptable phrase for lots of different role play scenarios wherever you may be. Je voudrais is going to be a really useful phrase whether you're booking tickets for travel or you're in a cinema or cafe. This is a phrase that you will definitely use. So je voudrais, I would like, une chambre. And we're using the language from the bullet point there. And now we've got to say for how many people. Pour 2 personnes. Now just a note here on numbers. As you are preparing during your preparation time, you should always write your numbers out as a word. You shouldn't write the number 2 because then you come to try and say that, and sometimes when we get a little bit nervous in the exam, we forget our numbers. So always write out the number as a word. Okay. Moving on to the second bullet point then. As I said, we can't really prepare this bullet point because it is the unpredicted part of the exam. However, we can be thinking what type of thing may come up here. We know that we're booking a room in a hotel. We know we've just said how many people, and we can obviously see what we're going to be speaking about next. So we could make some sort of guess as to the content of this exclamation mark. In this particular exam, the question that the examiner is asked to pose is Vous êtes de quelle nationalité? Vous êtes de quelle nationalité? Which means what nationality are you? So This one, we can sort of have to think on our feet with this one and just think, well, I need to respond with a nationality. And if you're struggling, you can just say anglais, English. If you can put it into a sentence, even better, and you can say je suis anglais. Or if you're a girl, je suis anglaise. Okay, moving on to the third bullet point then, sorte de chambre. And this one here, we've got de détail in brackets, and that's really important to point this out. If it says you've got to give 2 details, you have to obviously give 2 details. However, you don't have to give 2 sentences, and those details don't have to be particularly developed. They just have to be 2 pieces of information. So for this one, as we're still asking for a room, I'm going to reuse the phrase je voudrais. And I'm going to ask for a big room. So this is my first detail, une grande chambre avec une télé. In my room, I'd like it to have a TV. So a big room with a television. Those are my 2 details. As you can see, it's still just 1 sentence, but we've got 2 details in there now. Okay, 4th bullet point, manger, où. This is the verb to eat and the question word where. So we're being asked here to state where we would like to eat. So we can use the phrase again, je voudrais, and we can borrow the word from the bullet point, manger. And in order to actually cover what is suggested in the bullet point, we now have to give a location. So je voudrais manger au restaurant. I would like to eat at the restaurant. And you've covered that bullet point now. Okay, final bullet point then is the question mark. Remember, the question mark is followed by some information, a word or a few words, and these words indicate what your question must be about. So this one here, we have the question mark, followed by aller en ville, transport. So going to town, transport. So this question, we are supposed to ask something about the transport to get into town. Now, asking a question in French can pose us sometimes with a bit of an issue, but the benefit is that we can ensure that our question is obvious by the intonation of our voice. So if you lift your voice at the end of a statement in French, it makes it into a question. And that can be helpful if you're struggling to formulate a question. So, il y a, there is, or there are, il y a un bus pour aller en ville. So, there is a bus in order to get to town. As without the question mark and without the lifting the voice, this is a statement, there is. But if we add the question mark and we make that nice and clear in our voices, il y a un bus pour aller en ville, then it's nice and clear that this is actually a question. Is there a bus in order to get to town? So there you have your question. Now with the question mark, sometimes we do struggle to formulate questions. As I've said, one way is to lift your voice. If the word here is a word that you are not sure about and you're struggling to put it into a question, you can just say the word itself and lift your voice at the end. And sometimes that may avoid you losing all of the marks for that particular bullet point. Okay, I hope this has helped, and now you're ready to try one of your own. Courage! Au revoir!